Many people ask, what does God want from me? And there's many answers for that. But the truth is, if you look in the Torah, in the Bible, you see in Vayikra Kaf Bet, which is Leviticus 22, it says in Pasuk Lamed Aleph 31, Ushmartem mitzvotai v'asitem otam ani Hashem, which means Ushmartem mitzvotai, you will keep my commandments, v'asitem otam, and you shall do them. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem, I am God. What's he saying I am God for? Because that is the reason to do them. Sometimes there is no reason. Because God said to do it, that's why we do the mitzvot. That's why at the end, he said, I am God, as though that is the reason for why I'm commanding you. Of course, there's other reasons that he lets us to figure out, and different rationales. But at the end, it's always because Hashem said, because God said. So what do we want to do? Imagine a person starts out on a mission in life. He wants to get close to God. So what's he supposed to do? He reads this verse, do the commandments. What if he wants to philosophize? Who am I? Who is God? Why did God make me? What is the reason for all the bugs that he made? Why did he make so many species? Why did he make all kinds of things? The stars and all the astronomy, all this kind of stuff. Is it okay to think about these things? What if I want to philosophize and think about these things? Is this going against different truths that we're supposed to do? Because people told me, when I tried to explain a few things about what's called Hashkafa, which is a thought, basically an outlook, people would say, just tell me the commandments, teach me the commandments. Don't get into all this thought of why did God do this and what is man all about. That's God's business. What he made, let him do. He gave you something to do, you do it. So should I spend time on philosophizing? Is it even a waste of time? So the truth is, what I told this person was, okay, you want to do law? Let's do law. It says, you shall keep my commandments, so let's keep the commandments. Let's not do anything else except keep the commandments, okay? So let's start. Here's a book called the Mishneh Torah, which is from the Maimonides, where he recapped all the different 613 mitzvot that we have, commandments that is found in the Talmud, in the Gemara, and he put it in a nice arrangement called the Mishneh Torah. Okay? Every law has many details to it, which he enumerates in a orderly fashion. Okay, so if you're going to embark on a quest to do law, let's start with law number 1. Okay, law number 1 says, Yesod ha-yesodot ve'amud ha-chochmot, which means the fundamentals of everything is to know leida sheyesh sham matzur rishon, that there is a first being. Vehu mamsi kol nimtza, he brought out everything that exists. And he goes on to different things, and after the page is done here, the Rambam Maimonides says, Vidiat davar zeh, the knowledge of this, which he went through, mitzvat aseh, is a positive commandment, shene'emar, as it says in the verse, in the pasuk, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem, your God. So here we see, commandment number 1 is to study God. Now studying God means to study Him and His world. Why did he make things? Why did he do things this way? What am I all about? So all this so-called philosophizing is actually a mitzvah. It's not really just philosophy, but people think that's what it is, but it's really a part of Torah to know all about what the world is about. Okay? So now you have proof of why we should embark on a study like this. And it is not a waste of time. Not only is it not a waste of time, it is recommended. God is telling us to do this. So it's not just a luxury to learn these ideas. It's actually a necessity and even a command. Okay? So now, first of all, this mitzvah of Anochi Hashem Elokecha, which is the first commandment of the 10 commandments, by the way, I am God your Lord, or Hashem your God, however you translate it, is really the fundamentals of emunah, which is called faith. This is the law of faith in God. When you learn about God and whatever there is to know, which there's many things to know, people don't even know what they can learn about it. That's why they sometimes don't. But I'm going to show you, Be'ezrat Hashem, with God's help, what are some of the ideas we can learn. And God willing, this will be a series that we might do, because there's a long thing that we're going to learn. There's not just one idea to say who is God and who is man, and why did he make everything. So the truth is, I'm hoping that this will be a beginning introduction, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see how far we can get into the study, a step-by-step basis. Okay? Now, this is called Emunah, which I said. And it's really Emunah, the study of Emunah, of faith, is really another name, which I said before, is Hashkafa. Now, what does Hashkafa mean, even though I said thought? Really means an outlook. There's a pasuk, a verse in Devarim, Deuteronomy, Kaf Vav 26, Tet Vav, which is 15. I'm saying it in English as well because I want everybody to understand where to find these principles, because this is, God does not want only a certain section of people to know who He is. He's the God or the Father of all mankind. So mankind is supposed to know and is commanded to know God. Later on, there's different roles maybe for different people as far as the job is concerned. But as far as knowing Him and being a child of God, this is fundamental for everyone. It's called the Min Ha'enushi. Min is the species, Ha'enushi, of the human, which means the human species or the human race. This is what we are talking about. Okay, it's a pasuk, a verse that says, Hashkifa mimeon kochecha min hashamayim. God looked down from the heaven and bless us. Hashkifa, the word hashkafa, comes from that, which means to take a look from above and see down, which means you see the whole picture. When you look up, let's say from an airplane, and you look down, you see the entire picture instead of a piece at a time, and you don't really understand the relationship of each piece to the other piece because you're not seeing it. But when you take a global perspective and you see everything and its relationship to each other, you now have a far more vast understanding of everything in that regard. So Hashkafa, the study of Hashkafa, is really this fundamental look of the entire creation from a view that will let you see a totality. Okay? Now let's take this first commandment. Let me just read it too. It's in Shemot, Exodus Chaf 20, and Pasuk Bet. It says, Anuchi Hashem Lokecha, I am Hashem your God, Asher Hotzeiticha Meretz Mitzrayim, who took you out of the land of Egypt, Mebeit Avadim, from the house of slavery. Okay? First of all, this is, as the Maimonides said, commandment number 1. Now, where's the commandment? He just said, God said, I am God, Hashem your God. Where's the commandment? Everything else are do's and don'ts, negatives and positives. Thou shalt and thou shalt not. This doesn't say anything of a do. So why is that? Okay? Now let's say a couple who was married. You see a couple married with kids, and you want to know what was the first thing that happened with them that got them together. So maybe they got married. No, you'd say before that they got engaged and they were dating. But even before that, what was the first thing? You have a girl from Nebraska and a man from New York. What was the first thing that had to happen? An introduction. They had to meet. You can't have a whole relationship and a whole family and everything going on after that if you don't have the initial introduction or meeting. So what God is saying is, of course, you are going to do my commandments, but let me introduce myself first. That's the first thing. I am Hashem. Not do. First he's saying, hello, this is me. But he doesn't just say, this is me. It becomes a commandment, meaning he's saying, this is me, and he puts himself out there, and now the commandment is, go study me. Go study what I just said, which is, I am God, which includes everything. And Asher Tzeticha Meretz Mitzrayim, that took you out of Egypt, which basically means, without getting into that, what he showed in Egypt is that he's in charge of the world, because by making the 10 plagues, it showed that he was in charge of the 10 different facets of the world, whatever that is, and he's in charge of it and is still working the universe. He didn't create it and leave, he created it and continues to sustain and maintain it. So he's really, the commandment of this commandment is, I am Hashem, you shall study that, me, and that I took you out of Egypt, which means that I am controlling the world. Which means you have to study God and His relationship to the world. That's what it is.